Okay, so picture this. It's just another Tuesday, right? I'm doing my usual stuff, nothing fancy. Then, out of the blue, I get this call from James. Yeah, James, that super rich guy who's as charming as he is mysterious. I met him like, what, twice? Anyway, he's like, let's have dinner. And I'm thinking, why not? Little did I know, this wasn't just any dinner. We end up at this place that's the definition of posh. I'm talking chandeliers, waiters and tuxes, the whole shebang. I'm feeling out of my depth, but playing it cool. James is all business, as usual, looking sharp in his suit. We make small talk and then, bam, he drops this bombshell. He wants to marry me. Now, hold up. I'm not talking about a lovey-dovey proposal here. This is James, Mr. Practical, laying it out straight. A marriage of convenience. He's offering the whole package. A swanky house, fancy cars, trips to places I can't even pronounce. But here's the kicker. No love. Nada. Zip. It's like a business deal to him. So there I am, fork in hand, mouth probably hanging open, and all I can think about is Tom, sweet, funny Tom, who's currently doing who knows what in some far-off place. We've got this thing, but it's complicated, and he's not exactly Mr. Moneybags. I'm torn. On one hand, there's this fairy tale life with James, minus the fairy tale romance. On the other, there's my heart, still skipping a beat for Tom. But let's be real, love doesn't pay the bills. James's offer is dangling in front of me like some golden carrot, and I'm seriously considering taking a bite. So yeah, that's how I ended up in the fanciest restaurant in town, with a proposal that's anything but romantic. It's crazy, I know, but hey, sometimes life throws you a curveball. And sometimes, that curveball is a diamond encrusted, no strings attached proposal from a guy who could be on the cover of Forbes. And that's just the start of my story. All right, so fast forward a few weeks, and my life is like a reality show I never signed up for. Wedding planning with James is in full swing, and let me tell you, it's a whole new level of crazy. This guy, James, he's got everything figured out. Like, he's got the efficiency of a Swiss watch. We're talking selecting the grandest venue you can imagine, flowers that look like they've been picked by fairies, and a guest list that reads like a who's who. Now, James is this mix of distant and uber polite. It's like he's there, but not really. He's checking off boxes, making sure everything is just so, but there's no warmth. It's all business all the time. I'm just there, watching it all unfold, feeling like I'm in some fancy but super weird dream. But here's the juicy part. While all this is going down, I'm sneaking around, exchanging letters with Tom. Yeah, good old Tom. Every letter I write is like a tiny piece of my heart, sealed in an envelope. I pour my feelings onto those pages, telling him everything, my doubts, my fears, the whole shebang. And every letter I get back from him is like a lifeline, keeping me connected to what's real, to what really matters. It's a roller coaster, I tell y'all. 1 minute, I'm tasting what must be the world's most expensive wedding cake, feeling like a queen. The next, I'm hiding in my room, clutching Tom's latest letter, feeling like a teenager with a forbidden crush. It's wild. And the whole time, there's this ache, right? This tug in my chest whenever I think about Tom. It's like I'm living two lives. One where I'm this soon-to-be Mrs. Moneybags, all glitz and glam, and the other where I'm just me, a girl who's head over heels for a guy who's miles away and is broke as a joke. So yeah, that's my life. Planning a fairy tale wedding with a man I hardly know, while secretly yearning for a love that's as real as it gets. Talk about being stuck between a rock and a hard place. Huh? But who knows, maybe it'll all work out in the end. Or maybe not. That's the thrill of it, I guess. So, there I am, newly minted Mrs. James Hargrove, and let me paint you a picture of this new life of mine. Imagine living in one of those glossy magazine homes, the kind where everything is shiny and perfect. That's my world now, but let me tell you, it's not all it's cracked up to be. Every day is like stepping onto a movie set. We've got this massive house that's more like a museum, all marble and antiques and art that probably costs more than a small island. And then there's the galas. Oh boy, the galas. I'm dolled up in dresses that feel like they weigh a ton, dripping in jewels, and my arm is always hooked in James's, the picture-perfect wife. James, he's nailing his part. Always the charming host, the successful businessman. But it's like he's wearing a mask, you know? He's there, but not really there with me. We smile, we dance, we play our roles to the T in this high society circus. Now, don't get me wrong, the luxury is something else. I mean, who wouldn't want to swim in a pool that looks like it belongs in a five-star resort? Or have a closet that's the size of a small apartment? But when the lights go out and the guests go home, that's when the silence hits you. It's just me, alone in this big, fancy house, with nothing but my thoughts and a whole lot of shiny things that don't really mean much. And the nights, oh, the nights are the hardest. I'm lying there in this massive bed that could fit like 10 people, and all I can think about is Tom. I wonder what he's doing, if he's thinking about me. I'm in this golden cage, surrounded by everything I could ever want. But all I want is something, or someone, money can't buy. I started noticing the little things, too, like the way the staff would exchange these looks, these knowing glances. They're not dumb. They can see what's up. This isn't a love story, it's a business arrangement with some really nice perks. I can tell they're trying not to judge, but it's there, just beneath the surface. So there I am, living this life that should be a dream. I'm Mrs. James Hargrove, with the world at my fingertips, but it feels more like I'm just floating through it all. It's weird how you can have everything and still feel like you're missing something crucial, like you're just going through the motions, playing a part in someone else's play, and the real you is just waiting in the wings, hoping for a chance to step into the spotlight. That's my life as Mrs. Hargrove, glittering on the outside. But on the inside, it's a whole different story. So, get this. I'm out and about in the city, doing my usual, rich wife thing, you know, window shopping, grabbing a latte, the usual. And guess who I bump into? Tom. Yeah, Tom. My heart's true north. The guy who's been living rent-free in my head since, like, forever. It's totally out of the blue. I'm turning a corner, and bam, there he is. It's like a scene from a rom-com, except it's real life, and it's super awkward. We're both standing there, looking like deer in headlights, totally not prepared for this. So, we start talking, and it's this weird mix of stuttering and trying to say a million things at once. There's so much I want to tell him, and I can tell he feels the same. But we're whispering, glancing around like we're spies or something because, hello, I'm Mrs. Hargrove now, and getting caught with Tom would be all kinds of scandalous. Tom, he looks good, but there's this sadness in his eyes, like he's carrying the weight of the world. It hits me right in the feels because I've got the same sad song playing in my heart. We're like two halves of a melancholy melody, completely in sync in our unhappiness. The whole encounter is this weird dance of wanting to say more but holding back because time is a thief, and we're in the most public of places. Every second is precious, but it's also a second closer to getting caught. It's exhilarating but terrifying. We wrap up our chat way too soon, making those empty promises to keep in touch. It's like we're both clinging to this hope that we can somehow make it work, even though deep down, we know it's a long shot. The fear of being discovered by James or, worse, the ever-prying eyes of the public, is like this dark cloud hovering over us. And then we part ways, and it's like coming down from some high. The rest of my day is a blur. I'm walking through the city, but my mind is back on that street corner with Tom. His face, his words, the way he still looks at me like I'm the only person in the world. It's all playing on loop in my head. That chance meeting, man, it was a jolt straight to the heart. It's crazy how one little moment can stir up a whole storm of feelings. It's like the universe reminding me of what I'm missing, what I gave up when I said yes to James. So, there I am, back in my golden cage. But now it feels even smaller, the bars even tighter. Because now I've had a taste of what I'm missing, and let me tell you, no amount of money or luxury can fill that Tom-shaped hole in my heart. Okay, so let me set the scene for you. It's just another evening in the Hargrove mansion, me trying to act like the perfect wife, and James being his usual, distant self. Then, out of nowhere, James hits me with this bombshell. He's standing there, all serious, holding a stack of letters. And yeah, you guessed it, they're from Tom. My heart literally stops for a second. There I am, caught like a deer in headlights, staring at those letters. James's face is like a mask, giving nothing away. He's calm, too calm, as he starts laying them out on the table. It's like he's dealing cards, but each one is a piece of my heart, a secret I thought was safe. He starts talking, and his voice is this steady, emotionless drone. He's listing dates, quoting lines from the letters, laying it all bare, every whispered word, every hidden feeling. It's like he's dissecting my heart right there in our living room. I'm standing there, frozen. What do you even say in a situation like that? Oops, you caught me. I mean, it's clear as day. I've been emotionally cheating on him with Tom, and now James has all the evidence he needs. The room feels like it's spinning. Those letters, they were my lifeline to Tom, to a love that felt real. And now, they're just evidence of my betrayal. I look at James, trying to read his face, but he's just this blank wall. I can't tell if he's angry, hurt, or just indifferent. It's like he's more upset about the breach of contract than the actual cheating. And the worst part? I can't even defend myself. Everything he's saying is true. I did write those letters. I did pour my heart out to Tom, dreaming of a life that wasn't. This cold, gilded existence with James. But there's no use saying any of that now. The cat's out of the bag, and there's no shoving it back in. It's this surreal moment, you know? Like, 1 minute, you're living your life, albeit a double life, and the next, everything's just exposed. My secret world, the one where I was still connected to Tom, to that part of me that felt alive and real, it's just gone, poof, like smoke. I remember trying to say something, anything, but words just wouldn't come out. It's like I was standing outside of my body, watching this whole drama unfold. And there's James, Mr. Perfect Control, showing not a flicker of emotion as he systematically dismantles my secret. The silence after he's done is deafening. He's just standing there, waiting for me to respond. But what can I say? Sorry, I've been secretly pining for another man while playing your trophy wife. Yeah, that'll go down well. So, I just stand there, mute, feeling like the biggest fool in the world. My mind's racing, thinking about Tom, about us, about what this means for my future. It's like this house of cards I've been living in has just collapsed, and I'm just waiting to be buried in the rubble. That night, I realized how fragile my world was. 1 minute, you're on top of the world, and the next, you're just a girl, standing in front of her husband, with nothing but a bunch of love letters and a whole lot of regret. It's funny, in a tragic sort of way, how quickly things can change, how quickly your world can turn upside down. And that's the thing about secrets, they always have a way of coming out, often at the worst possible time. And when they do, man, it's like a hurricane just ripped through your life, leaving you to pick up the pieces. Let me tell you, when things went south, they didn't just take a leisurely stroll, they sprinted. The fallout from James finding those letters was like a hurricane tearing through my life. Before I knew it, he'd annulled the marriage. Just like that, I went from Mrs. Hargrove, the woman with everything, to, well, basically nobody. The news about our split, and the reason behind it spread faster than a video going viral. I mean, it was the juiciest gossip in town. Wealthy socialite dumped because of her secret love affair. Everyone had their version of story, and in each one, I was the villain. I was painted as this heartless cheater, a gold digger who got what she deserved. Talk about harsh. But here's the real kicker, even Tom, my supposed true love, the guy the first risked everything for, backed off. I guess the scandal was too hot for him to handle. Can't really blame him, but it still stung, you know? It's like one day, he's love of my life, and the next, he's just another name in my past. So, there I am, out on my own, with nothing to my name. James made sure of that. The guy was efficient, I'll give him that. He cut me off so fast, I barely had time to realize what was happening. No house, no fancy car, not even a goodbye gift. Just a good riddance, and a door slammed in my face. And society, oh boy, they were brutal. I was shunned like I had some contagious disease. Friends I thought I had? Gone. Invitations? Stopped. I went from being a fixture on the social scene to a pariah, practically overnight. It's crazy how fickle people can be, how quickly they turn on you when you're no longer on top. It's funny, in a not so funny way, how my pursuit of security and love ended up leaving me with neither. I chased after this dream, this idea of a perfect life, and when I finally caught it, it just blew up in my face. I was left with nothing, no husband, no true love, no friends, no life. Just a whole lot of regrets and a harsh lesson learned. Looking back, it was like I was walking on a tightrope, trying to balance this double life, and I just lost my footing. Everything I thought I wanted, everything I worked so hard to get, it just vanished, like smoke through my fingers. And there I was, standing in the ashes of my own making, wondering how it all went so wrong, so fast. It's a tough pill to swallow, realizing that all your choices, all your mistakes, have led you to this point. Alone, broke, and broken. But I guess that's life, right? You make your bed, and then you've got to lie in it, no matter how uncomfortable it is. So there I was, post-meltdown, feeling like I just survived a tornado. But here's the twist. Amidst all that chaos and heartache, I started feeling something unexpected. Liberation. Yeah, you heard that right. It's like, once everything was stripped away, I found myself standing there with nothing left to lose. And let me tell you, there's something weirdly freeing about hitting rock bottom. With my old life in the rear view, I had to start from scratch. No more fancy galas, no more designer labels, just me, myself, and guess what? I discovered I'm tougher than I thought. I mean, who knew? Turns out, I'm not just some socialite who crumbles at the first sign of trouble. I've got grit, resilience, and a knack for making the best out of a bad situation. I started doing things I never imagined I'd do. We're talking odd jobs, freelance gigs, you name it. And yeah, it was tough, like, really tough. But every day, I learned a little more about myself. I found strengths I never knew I had, like being able to talk my way into and out of just about anything and turning a tiny budget into a feast. But here's the real kicker. I started enjoying the simple things. You know, like a quiet walk in the park, a good book from the library, or just watching people go about their lives. It's weird, but when you strip away all the glitz and glamour, you start appreciating the world in a whole new way. I found joy in the little things, and it was kind of amazing. I also learned to enjoy my own company. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was lonely at first, but then I started to cherish that solitude. It gave me time to think, to reflect, and most importantly, to grow. I rediscovered parts of myself I'd lost along the way, my love for painting, my passion for writing, my knack for cooking. It was like meeting an old friend I hadn't seen in years. And freedom. Oh man, freedom became my new best friend. I could go where I wanted, do what I wanted, be who I wanted. There were no expectations, no judgments, just me being unapologetically me. It was scary at first, stepping out into the world with nothing but my wits to guide me. But it was also exhilarating. Like, I could breathe again. You know? So, there I was, building a new life from the ground up. And yeah, it wasn't glamorous or easy, but it was real. I traded luxury for authenticity, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I was no longer Mrs. Hargrove, the woman who had everything but felt nothing. I was just me, flawed, resilient, and finally, genuinely happy. It's funny how life works. Sometimes, you have to lose everything to find what really matters. And for me, what mattered was rediscovering myself, finding peace in the chaos, and learning to love the life I never planned. It wasn't the life I thought I wanted, but it turned out to be everything I needed. All right, so here I am, years down the line, spilling the beans on my crazy life story. And let me tell you, it's been one heck of a ride. Sure, there's been a ton of pain and loss, but you know what? It all led me to the most important discovery of my life, myself. Back in the day, I was all tangled up in this web of who I was supposed to be, Mrs. James Hargrove, living the high life, or the girl hopelessly in love with Tom. But now, I'm just me, and that's not just okay, it's pretty darn great. You see, when everything fell apart, when I lost the man I married and the man I loved, I kind of found myself. Sounds cliche, I know, but it's true. I learned that I'm stronger than I ever gave myself credit for, that I can survive and thrive on my own terms. I stopped living for James, stopped pining for Tom, and started living for me. It's been a journey of ups and downs, of learning and unlearning. I've had my fair share of lonely nights and tearful moments, but every single one of them taught me something about myself. I discovered passions I never knew I had, strengths I never realized I possessed, and a resilience that's all mine. Now, I'm doing things I love, things that make me happy. I've got a job that doesn't come with a luxury lifestyle, but gives me a sense of purpose. I've got friends who like me for who I am, not for the status or drama I bring. And the best part? I found peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing you're exactly where you're meant to be, doing exactly what you're meant to do. Looking back, I see how lost I was, trying to fit into these roles that weren't really me. James's wife, Tom's secret love, they were just parts one was playing. Now, I'm the leading lady in my own story, and it's a role I was born to play. I guess what I'm trying to say is, life's thrown some curveballs my way, but each one taught me a little more about who I am. I've stopped looking for love in all the wrong places because the greatest love, the most fulfilling love, is the love I have for myself. So yeah, that's my story. A tale of love, loss, and everything in between. But most importantly, it's a story of self-discovery, of finding my own path and walking it with my head held high. I don't belong to James anymore, and I'm not pining for Tom. I belong to myself, and let me tell you, that's the most beautiful feeling in the world. It's my truest love, my greatest